me and Jessica were actually just speaking. We ran into Wonder. Are you guys? Okay, cool. Yeah. It would be great if you could talk about a little bit about. We were just talking. She's an astrologer, and we just had this really interesting conversation. How she was talking about like today was like an auspicious day for these types of events. And so I thought it would be really great just to have her open it up, since I think we're kind of getting into something a little bit more energetically for the topics.
So Rebecca said earlier that she'd be a little bit, science and a little bit of woo, and I'm at this point pretty much all woo all the time. So I got really excited when, I knew I was going to come to this, and I was looking at the chart and seeing what was going to be happening, and I just want to share a little snapshot of the window that I see opening up for all of us here this weekend. Because Mars and Jupiter, those two planets, are making what we call a square aspect to one another, and they're in signs that mutually receive one another. All of that's the technical jargon. What it means for us is that there's an opportunity for all of us here to really fight for that thing that we really believe in, and to have a vision for ourselves moving forward that might test us. But that ultimately, if we can think about how that vision moves us forward into the world so that it's a fight for something that's a greater good, rather than just so much focusing on ourselves, we have to locate ourselves inside that collective experience and push for it. And this is an aspect that's going to perfect this Monday. So we're in this moment right now where it's actually edging up to a point of real frisson. So it's an excellent opportunity for us to be here right now having this conversation about strategies for how we can achieve these things, how we can take risks and achieve greatness. And we need to be having these conversations because it's never been so important in the world that we be having these sorts of conversations as it is right now. And so I just invite all of you to really sit with that experience of what it is that you have to lose when you risk something, and also what it is that you have to gain. Because I think that's really at the heart of why a risk is so important. And there's another thing I want to say about that. Past cycles of this specific moment in time where you may have experienced a similar window of opportunity would be in April of 2007 or in November of 95. So as you can see, it's like a very small thing, but if those moments were important to you in some way, you can look back to that cycle to see how you're returning to it and creating something new right now.
Thank you so much. So I'm really excited. That was like, I didn't even know she was going to get that detail about it, because that's like, she basically just laid out what we're going to be doing for the next hour. But for the first part, I'm going to kind of talk about my experience in taking risks and where that's led me, and kind of like my whole thought process around it and all the people that I've met in my own journey to my destinations. And just kind of like the certain types of personas that I've kind of seen in the different ways that we can all kind of get stuck and be in that transitionary zone where we we're not where we just want to be or we are supposed to be, but we kind of are, and we're just trying to figure out what's the next step to take. So a part of what I'm going to be talking about is how we can get some clarity around that, where we are emotionally. We're going to take a little assessment test, and then after that, we're going to kind of get together into groups based on whatever your outcome or result was with other people who are struggling with the same thing, and you guys are going to talk about different assignments that you guys can take home today that you guys can start taking actions on to start moving through that rut, or getting out of that rut and then finding that path to do what you're supposed to do next. So to start me off, I'll start off with me a little bit. So what if I told you that you can design your life however you want? You can fully take control of whatever you want to do. Anything is literally possible. I know it's a crazy thing or a cliche thing to think, but it actually really is true. So I know you talked about a little bit about all the obstacles that we go through and the way society sets us up to kind of fail. When in actuality, we all have a power within us to get in touch with what we want and what our inner heart wants, and like the universe kind of like will then align itself when we energetically put ourselves into that place and hold ourselves with integrity. we'd all of a sudden get into this state of a flow where things and opportunities that we mentally plan for and believe that we can get start coming into our lap. So you heard the phrase like with luck. Luck is planning plus opportunity equals, that's what good luck is. You can really create your luck in that technical way. Once you start preparing for something you don't have yet, even though you don't think it's real, if you start preparing and start moving and just start getting your body to act on it and start thinking in that way, all of a sudden, like the universe kind of moves things around, like opportunities will come that will help you get to that. The doors will open that you didn't think were even there or were even possible to get you to where you want to be. So that's something that we all have to start believing in. Even if, and I'm hoping to at least plant that seed, sorry, by the end of this hour, you don't have to like fully jump into that. I know it can be kind of like lofty, but if that seed can be planted in there that you really can and are capable of achieving anything your heart desires, and you're willing to do what it needs to do that, then just know that it's almost guaranteed. And I'll let my life be a little bit of a testimony to that. So this is a picture that I took when I was in Alaska, and I was doing some government work there. I built my first tech app that was for job seekers that I wanted to have a social impact, and which I think we did, but I'll talk about that later. But this quote I think really always sticks with me, so sorry if this is not visible, I'll have to read it. But basically it's a Bruce Lee quote that says, "Believe me that in every big thing or achievement, there are always obstacles, big or small. And the reactions one shows to such obstacles is what counts, not the obstacle itself." Does that make sense? So we are women, so we are in a patriarchal society. There are going to be obstacles and a little bit more than most. We're not. And there's going to be subgroups within us that are also going to get worse. But what really matters is, at the end of the day, how you, your attitude when it comes across it, and then how you use that to your advantage even. So growing up, I always thought about, like, you know, I'm a black woman, so we kind of have had some interesting history within this country in terms of like a lot of laws and things, opportunities being closed off to the population. And sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but I always think of like different types of figures. When I'm thinking about things that I want to do, I always look for inspiration of people who kind of defeat the odds. So for example, there's one woman named Clara Williams. She was not allowed inside her classroom when she was studying. I think this was actually when black people were not actually really allowed. And so what she ended up doing was she would stand outside and listen and take notes from the door or from the window. And from there she was able to graduate, and she lives to 100 years old, but she became a son of 3 doctors. I think she was a doctor herself. And so like that type of thing where those doors were closed to her, she was not allowed to have the same dignity as her peers, to be able to learn from her teachers, but still use that to be able to help herself. Like she didn't let that stop her. She just made it work in with whatever confines she could. She made lemonade from the lemons, right? Another woman, Madam C.J. Walker, is something that's always taught. She was the first woman millionaire in the United States in 1867. So imagine whatever state that is for black people in 1867. It doesn't feel like what privileges we have today at the very least. But what she did was she created the first pressing hair straightener. And she would go door to door to people, to women, asking, you know, like, hey, do you need something for your hair? Like, you know, and she would build a tool for them, and then they would start buying it from her. She started doing that door to door for years, and then she was able to become really wealthy off of that. And this is, again, in a society where people like her were not given economic opportunity. She just made the opportunity for herself. I don't think she thought she would be a millionaire when she was doing it. She was just doing something that was gratifying her on a day-to-day, but it's that long journey. So, and fast forward today, here we are, we're still 2018, yes. And you see that there's people constantly defeating the odds on a daily basis. There's so much more role models, people breaking the mold, challenging the status quo. What is possible is being challenged regularly. We are in no better time in history to be a woman and to be able to go after opportunities that did not seem conventional or even possible just even 2 years ago. Like imagine a woman, comedian, pregnant, making what I'm assuming had to have been $1 million show on Netflix. So that if you guys seen Baby Cobra and her second feature, that was huge. And I think a lot of it was very sexual as well. But like that's not something someone can foresee. That's something that somebody has to take small action steps on a daily basis and get gratification and not be worried about what's open to her or not, right? But then what happens is the universe paves the way because you're believing in yourself and taking those little small steps. Then all of a sudden something avalanches and you you see the opportunity there that you can take advantage of. I also think of, I want to say Sarah Blakely. I don't know. Sarah, she's the woman that creates Spanx. Thank you. Sorry, my brain's gonna fart all early afternoon at the lunch. But they created Spanx. But she was a bootstrapper. She also had no access to tech people. She's kind of like the modern day CJ Walker to me, where she created stuff and she would go to stores, sell her product directly to the stores, and then stand there watching women buy it or not buy it, and would ask them like, why are you not buying it? She would fine tune the product, and then she would just keep doing it until it became a billion-dollar product, and it's a 100% owned company. There was no investors, which was the opposite side of, which is the benefits of actually not having had to rely on investors. She did it all herself. So now she owns 100% of her billion-dollar company, and she actually doesn't even really have to work anymore. But if you watch videos of her on YouTube and she talks about what she's doing on a day-to-day, she didn't know she was going to be a billion-dollar company. She just knew that she saw a problem and she wanted to fix it, and it gave her joy to work on it every single day. J.K. Rowling was a 32-year-old or 31-year-old single mother going through a divorce, depressed, homeless, and was writing Harry Potter just for fun, or just to like as an escape mechanism. You had two women in the NFL. One is the first woman referee. There's actually 3 female referees right now in the NFL, and 1 assistant coach for Arizona Cardinals. She's the first female assistant coach. So like anything is really like, and of course like Stacey being the youngest woman in Congress. These are all things that were probably unthought of or thought impossible. Probably prior to 2008 when a black person became president. Maybe that started opening those people's minds. But I just want to challenge you guys to start thinking, if you think that whatever your goal is kind of lofty, is it really more lofty than most of these? Probably not. So I just want to get you thinking about that a little bit. So a little bit about my journey. I was born and raised in San Jose. I'm a first generation. My dad's from Haiti. My mom's from Eritrea. My mom left Eritrea when she was 12. They fled from the war when they were in war with Ethiopia, and she went to Rome with her 2 sisters and my grandmother. And then she left them 4 years later and had to come to America and learn English and do everything all over again at the age of 17. And she met my dad, who was lucky. When he was in Haiti, there were some missionaries that came, and one of them sponsored him to come. So it was like 1960s. So all he had to do was just like get a reference letter from an American, come in, and then he was able to start working at National Semiconductor when manufacturing was a thing in Silicon Valley. And so after 20 years of marriage, they ended up getting divorced, but and that was like a whole time cultural issue, and our family just got really dysfunctional. It wasn't a safe space for me to be all the time, so I ended up pouring myself out into external activities. Prior to that though, I kind of was already as a young kid thinking about, well, what do I want to do? Because I saw my parents coming home from their jobs. My dad was, again, manufacturer. My mom was working overnight graveyard as a nurse, and I just felt like they were like not really happy with their job, but they did it because they felt like they needed to. And I was like, well, they came here to give me these opportunities. I don't want to be miserable for the next 30 years, even though my dad wants me to be a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. I wanted to find something that makes me feel happy. So I noticed that, and I think that's something most millennials probably felt. It's a generational thing. So when I was a kid, I was like, well, what do I want to be? If I could be anything I want, without no questions asked, without like, what would it be? And I knew, like, prior to 10 years old, I wanted to be a superhero. I was like, superhero is like the job career that I want to be. And I told myself, like, I would find something that's as close to it as possible, and I would spend my life looking for that. And so, that doesn't mean like super foolish, but whatever. I'm not in a superhero costume, but I just remember just really loving it. And so I remember thinking like, okay, and then at that point, my dad, I think it was at age 9, my dad took me to Haiti for the first time. And when I was there, I was like, okay, I noticed 2 things that I came back with in 4th grade. I was thinking, okay, one, I didn't understand the poverty. I just didn't understand it. I was like, why is the condition so bad for them, and they only are, and they're so close to America? I was like, why is America not helping? And then my second takeaway was that, oh, they're more happier than Americans are. And I was like, why is America not happy? And we have all these things, like we have toilets, and we have like, and I was like, why are we not happy? And I just remember taking those huge takeaways, and that kind of like stirred my brain in terms of like trying to navigate what my career trajectory would be. And I was like, how I can make a social impact here, and then whatever I can do here, I felt like I could go back to Haiti and and then start learning those ropes. But if I felt like if I couldn't do it here, there was no point for me to try and do it and fix something in Haiti. So the next 20 years was a trial and error phase. I worked 11 part-time jobs. I had 10 real jobs throughout my 20s. I did 4 years of public services for different organizations. I took a whole bunch of internships. I was kind of going through this phase, and you can see on your table this one sheet that talks about, so prior to the 10, I was in the phase of, I don't even know what I want to do, what's my passion. Now I was in this phase of, I kind of like everything, so I was kind of using this phase to discover what my passion was, but then I started learning that I liked everything, so I was multi-passionate, so I would spend 3 months, 6 months, 1 year doing one thing. I would get really good at it, but then I get bored, and I'm like, okay, and I find something else that I really like, and then I want to go and explore that. So it's kind of like a butterfly going through all these different job roles and positions, and just trying to figure out, so, okay, I think I want this, but then maybe not. And so it's kind of been like just kind of figuring that out. I started the first 3 months out of college. Oh, this was me in college, undergrad, like. Sorry again for the glory. Basically, like, I was a longboarder. You can kind of tell from here, like, I was a little bit of a rebel. I just didn't like being put labels being put on me, or having people have the expectations of what my personality should be like because they never seen a black person or whatever. And I just didn't like that. So my first thing was to resist it and to like just do whatever I want to do, and show that I could also just be like normal, which is, I think, something that Rebecca touched on earlier about like how we start to hate those like labels that get put on us, and so we start to reject it. But then so I was kind of in that phase. Then I joined the real world, and I started doing nonprofit. I was working for a public policy firm, and as you can see right there, like, it was great. I loved what I was doing. I started entering the miserably secure phase, where it was basically like, I'm doing really well. I have a house, I have a car. I don't have a house, it was an apartment. But it was my own place. And I was like, I do like what I'm doing, but I just don't feel fulfilled. I did not feel happy. And then I saw people who were in my organization that were like 10 years ahead of me, and I saw what their life was like. And I was like, they didn't seem to travel. They seemed like they were in prison to their jobs. And so I was like, okay, right now, I'm 25, I went through this mid-20s crisis. And I was like, if I don't leave now, I don't know what's gonna happen. But I remember I did my last dish, sorry, here I'm taking a lot of nerves here, or hitting on something with most people here. But I asked for a raise because I had done an had an amazing performance review. I had exceeded all the goals that were set for me for that year. And interesting enough, and I had fundraised for my position about $15,000 more than the year before what they had got. I was denied. I was first kind of, let along on the string, and then 4 months later, they were like, you have a run-on sentence on the website that you created for us, which wasn't part of your job description, but has helped out so much with our thing. And so because of this run-on sentence, we're not going to give you your raise.
What?
Yeah.
Actually
She actually turned the laptop around and said, see this event that you posted on this thing? And she pointed to the run-on sentence. And my writing had never been an issue before. So, I knew, I was like, when you get something like that was a blessing. Before it sounds like that was a blessing, because when you get something that stupid, it's like, okay, if I come in tomorrow, I have to really hate myself. Like, I have to, I'm insulting myself. At that point, it was like my fault if I come in tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I'm totally fine with working here. So the next morning, I came in, beat myself up, and I was like, hey, this is my 3 weeks notice, I had to go. And so that was a shock to them, surprisingly. And I decided to, I decided I was going to do whatever I was missing, and at that point I was really missing being creative, and I felt kind of like pulled in from that, so I was like, I'm going to try everything creative, and of course those few months I was stressed, so I was starting to do painting, and then all of a sudden I was like, you know what, now that I quit my job, I have like 2 months worth of money left, I'm just going to sell everything. I sold my car, I sold all my furniture, I started painting, and I was like, I'm going to live like an artist. No plan. And it was like, people are complimenting me, so I just would go out onto the sidewalks on the streets, I post all my artwork, people compliment. Of course I didn't make any money, but I was just like, okay, and I just remember hitting this point where I was like, I have no idea what to do with my life right now. So I decided to leave the country, and I traveled. I don't know, hopefully I don't have a picture for that, but I went backpacking for a few months, and in that backpacking, being isolated, I did a solo thing, going to all these different countries, you're exposed to different types of people, new secret environments. All of a sudden, your identity is something that you are confronting for the first time in an environment that doesn't know you. me being born and raised in San Jose for 0 to 26 years old, I didn't know who I was outside of that. Outside of my parents, I had everything in place. So when I went to these different countries, I was confronted with these different customs and cultures, and I found out things that I liked that I didn't know existed. There were things that about my personality that I thought were bad, that were actually really well liked there. They were positive there. It was like night and day, and I was like, whoa, I was seeing myself in a completely different light, and I started just discovering myself. So at that point, instead of coming back to California after 2 months like I was supposed to, I ended up moving to New York, and which is a great place to transition if anyone's thinking about transitioning and doing a complete life change. New York's a great place to go to start from scratch where nobody will judge you because everyone's crazy. So you can literally do whatever you want there, and that's what I did for about a year and a half. I went in there and I started learning to code, and learning to design and learning tech, things that I didn't know I was doing, and I would make videos because I was bored. This is like my day-to-day. Literally every single day. I didn't know I liked code. I found out. But that was like my daily routine for about 3 months. I became obsessed with it. I was just learning the to just be competitive in a freelancing market where I wanted to have more freedom with my job and I wanted to be creative, and I had already just started. I had no money then too. I was doing AmeriCorps, so I was getting paid $900 a month. My rent was $650 in New York City. So I had like $250 a month. So I was with no money. I had to stay home and do something with my free time. And that was like basically following my curiosity. I didn't have access to a Mac. I didn't have resources. I couldn't afford it. So I would go to the library and I would borrow books like Photoshop for Dummies, and I would just read it on rainy days. And then, so by the time that all of a sudden the fates aligned, where on Facebook, I got my tax refund back for $650, which I didn't know I was gonna get money back that year. And then a Facebook post the next day of my friend of a guy that she dated posted that he's selling his Mac laptop for $600. He worked at Apple, and so if anybody wants it, let him know. And I was like, I've never seen him on newsfeed before. I didn't even know we were friends. And so I was like, okay, cool. I was like, hit up my friend who I know went on a date with him once or twice, and she was like, hey, he's putting a laptop on Facebook, can you get that for me? She was like, oh my gosh, Mom, I was literally thinking about him right now. And so she's in San Francisco, and as soon as I texted that, she responds that she was just thinking about him, and she hadn't seen him for 6 months. So she was like, this is great, this gives me an excuse to talk to him. I mean, it didn't work out, but she got my laptop, and then she mailed it to me, and I think I had $40, I had $50 left over, so that $40 went to her shipping it, and she got the $10 as her like thank you. And then I got my MacBook, and so by the time I had it, my roommates, because I was staying in a hostel with people from all over the world, 2 of them went to an art school, and they all use Adobe Creative Suite, but they had the crack version. And so since I thought I was gonna have to pay, but I didn't have the money yet, I was gonna save up to get the licensing for it. They were like, oh, if you're gonna learn design, they're like, we could just hook you up with a crack version. And so I was like, okay. And so he spent 2 days putting oh, don't tell him. Hope nobody works for Adobe. But he put a fake Photoshop, it was unpaid for, but basically I had a license to now use access to all their software. So I was able to put my, the things I was learning in the book to practice almost immediately. I was familiar with the user UI because I had been reading the book for 6 weeks. I already knew how to play with stuff, and so with that I was able to start taking some designs and start doing that. And then I ended up at my job, they ended up hiring a graphic designer that week. And I never met a graphic designer before, so I went up to her and I was like, hey, so I heard you do graphic design, I'm really interested in that. I was like, I feel like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. Do you mind if I shadow you? She was like, yeah, sure, you can just come in any Friday and just watch me work. And I was like, okay, cool. So I would come in every Friday, I would sit in her cubicle and just watch her, and I would feel like the Holy Ghost in the room, watching her do work. I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I loved it so much, and she would tell me what I needed to do, what I needed to read, and she's like, if you want to be competitive, learn to code. So I went home, and that was, and then I just started getting really addicted to coding. I actually didn't even care about graphic design. But that drive to do graphic design, I felt was just to lead me to coding. I don't think I would have gotten to coding any other way, because I would have never in my life thought that coding would be of interest to me. But yeah, so next accident, and this is me freelancing. So after 2-3 months, I did the online course for $11 on Skillshare, and I started getting clients immediately because I was blogging about my development process. Went to grad school and I became an interactive designer, and I got hired at a startup in London, and they ended up failing. I got fired for that too, but that's a whole different story. Right at that job, and it was just another bias thing, but it's real. But they ended up going down 4 months later, so it was fine. And then, And then a year later, this is me a month ago, TechCrunch asked me to speak about my startup, which is virtual reality bias training, which is when I was in grad school, I was getting really bad treatment from the assistant professor, and I could tell he was biased against me. I was the only woman of color in the class, blah, blah. And so I started to use that experience to try to find a technological solution for that. So that was my revenge for him, because I wanted to be confronted with this information, because I felt like that's what he was doing, and when I tried to bring it up to administration, they weren't helping. So that's what I did, and it ended up being starting off my career. I got featured on Vice. There's Arm Corporate, which is they usually are top 15 in Forbes. Did a commercial video telling my story, and the TechCrunch thing. And then next year I'll start at Facebook, which is actually have been a big company of mine. I know, politics aside, there's some controversies right now, but literally their mission values have been my mission and values for since growing up, building, connecting a community, great, empowering communities, people being able to build their own communities. Yes, it can be done in a evil way, which I'm very well aware of. And so as a result, when I see that kind of stuff and they're working on that kind of thing to actually connect people with resources and get people more social capital, I want to be part of that in a positive way, and also be mindful of how we do that to protect people from the bad stuff that can come from that. In our society, we talk about success because it's a patriarchal society, and guys like to, or like their ego, or with over-crediting themselves on how much they contribute to things or whatever. They'll make it sound like it's a straight line. They'll make it sound like, you start here and you go there and you just excel and great. And maybe it is for most of them. Obviously not all men. A lot of men do have to struggle for some stuff sometimes, so we'll give them that credit. But for the rest of us, it's going to look like this. Thank you. It's going to be a lot of setbacks. It's going to be a lot of maneuvering. It's going to be a lot of dodging. It's going to be a lot of back and forth. You take one step back to go 4 or 5 steps forward. So just be prepared for that. And of course, what you want in the end, if you're actually on the path that you're supposed to be on, the energy that you get from working on pursuing your happiness is actually going to be the drive that you have to pull through it. Whereas if you're doing this, and most of the time, we are spending this energy on things that we don't really align with our heart. So when we come across those obstacles, it's not actually, we don't have the energy to move around it. That's how you know it's not really for you and not really what you actually want. You might think you want it, or you might just be doing it because you need to, but the fact that you're not getting that positive energy from it is a sign that this is not actually what your heart truly wants, and you have to do. You have to take a step back and do some introspection and start moving in a direction that does give you energy, gives you life a little bit. So the biggest things take away from this, and so I think the last slide before we go into the test, is making sure that you don't have a fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset when you start your own pursuit of, or take that risk, that's how you're going to fail. And that's where failure really comes from. It's for people who don't think that they can change, people who don't think that they think I'm either good at it or I'm not. They think in binary. They think their potential is predetermined. I'm going to do this because my dad did this, and whatever, or my mom did this, and that's just who I am. When you think thoughts like, I'm frustrated, so I'm going to give up. Feedback and criticism feels personal, or I'm just going to stick to what I know. These are all things that your brain will tell you, I don't like to be challenged. My abilities are unchanging. These are all things that are signs of a fixed mindset, and that you're not going to be putting yourself in alignment with success. The growth mindset is where you want to be. You need the growth mindset to stay agile, to be flexible for any changes. You want to be able to think of things like, oh, failure is an opportunity to grow. So when you do come across that rock and you're in that of course, the grieving period of what feels like a loss in that moment, you need to be able to tell yourself and cheerlead, this is okay. This might not have been the way to do it. It might be a better way for you to do it. Because every single time I've been around it, it's always been a way better route than I could even imagine. You have to believe that. I can learn to do anything I want. That's another quote you should be thinking. Challenges help me grow. You should be excited when you come across adversity, because yes, now I get to conquer you. So I'm gonna love the win that I'm gonna take when I conquer you. When you go into a fight, you're confident you're gonna be somebody who's okay, right? You want that same spirit when you're on your journey, and not a defeatist attitude. Feedback is constructive. When people give you feedback, that should be your immediate response or thinking. My effort and attitude determine my abilities. That's it. My effort and my attitude. So when other people are telling you what your abilities are, you should believe this so strongly that it almost makes you laugh when they try to tell you otherwise. Or it makes you feel like, I can't wait to prove you wrong. Those are the types that's the type of spirit you want to have when confronting that type of stuff, which you will. I like to try new things, and I'm inspired by the success of others. That's a huge one. A lot of times we start comparing ourselves and we start thinking about where we lack, and if we see someone doing better, we get deflated. When in actuality, when you see someone doing something and you feel envious, that's a good sign. That means like, oh, especially for those people who are not sure where to go, like that tells you, okay, that's what I want, because it's hitting me somewhere on the core, and that's usually like the universe's way of putting those people there, so that way you can learn from them and get to and be a little bit more clarity around what it is or what you're looking for, and it'll come to us in the form of people and fear sometimes. Okay, so let's go into the exercises. Can I get some help passing